I'm sitting in a field of hairy vetch. Hairy vetch is a winter annual cover crop. This has a lot of fall growth. That's because this vetch actually reseeded itself from last year. Normally vetch doesn't have a lot of fall growth, so we do recommend that when you use vetch as a cover crop that you plant it with a cereal grain such as cereal rye, triticale, or wheat, because those will have good fall growth and give you good winter cover. The legumes such as the hairy vetch, you could also use Austrian winter pea for a legume. They will provide nitrogen in the spring for your following crop, whether that be corn or milo or even soybeans. You can put a legume in front of. They put most of their nitrogen on around the end of April, which is kind of late for planting corn. So you can get rid of it a little bit, before, whenever you want to plant corn, you can go ahead and kill your cover crop. One of the problems with hairy vetch in the organic system is that it's an indeterminate, so it starts setting seed quite early and continues for a long period of time. So it will drop seed, and the seeds are hard and can last in the ground for a long time. So hairy vetch can become a weed fairly easily in an organic system, so you do want to watch out for that. But it's also an excellent nitrogen producer, and it's good, puts on a lot of biomass, and grows well in the spring. Austrian winter peas does the same, and is less likely to become a weed, so I kind of like Austrian winter peas for an organic system. But again, you want to plant them with a cereal crop. Austrian winter peas does not always overwinter really well in our Missouri winters, especially in the north. If you plant it with oats or rye, cereal rye or wheat, the cereal crop will give the Austrian winter peas insulation during the winter and help them overwinter better. Now I'm sitting in a strip of crimson clover that also reseeded itself from last spring I mean. I like crimson clover especially for an organic system, for a couple reasons. One is that crimson clover isn't as persistent as vetch. It doesn't last as long in the spring. So vetch will actually continue to grow through the summer. Crimson clover pretty much dies off at the beginning of May. So if you're going to plant corn, crimson clover is a really nice one to have because of it does do its thing a little bit earlier. It also doesn't become a weed quite as badly. It's easier to get rid of than vetch. It doesn't have the hard seeds like vetch has. But it will reseed itself if you let it go to seed, which can be a good thing if you're wanting to grow the cover crop, the same cover crop again in the same field the following year, that you've got a little bit of jump on your legume growth here in the fall. Normally we would see crimson clover be much smaller if I had just planted it, and we'd get, again, most of our growth in early spring instead of fall. But again, crimson clover by itself is not going to add very much organic matter. So in organic system, you need to add a lot of organic matter to improve your fertility. So you need to, in addition to crimson clover, grow a cereal crop like cereal rye, wheat, or triticale. Earlier I mentioned that tillage radish by themselves don't put out a lot of organic matter, and so aren't really adding a whole lot to your soil health. So in this field, what we've done is used a Kinsey 15-inch row planter, and in alternating rows have put in tillage radish and alternated that with, in this case, in this field, it's spring oats. So the oats here are actually going to winter kill, but this is going to give us, some cover for the fall, but not real good into the winter. Down the row here, we're going to show some with some overwintering cereal grains. But you can see that, having the cereal crop in there is going to add more organic matter to the field. Okay, so in this plot, we have tillage radish interplanted with cereal rye. Now the cereal rye will overwinter, will provide ground cover throughout the winter and early spring, so will help keep erosion down and will add lots of organic matter. Now some people have experimented with coming back in the spring using GPS and planting corn straight into the rows where the tillage radish is, and have found they can get a little bit of a yield bump from that. So again, this was planted with a Kinsey 15-inch row planter. And it's not good enough. It doesn't provide enough ground cover if you're wanting to do organic no-till, but if you are using tillage in your organic system, then this kind of a system would work well. So it's It's giving you good fall growth and giving you an overwintering cereal crop so that you have good ground cover in the winter and provides lots of organic matter. It also holds the nitrogen that was left over from your previous crop, holds your nutrients, and just overall much better than having bare ground or winter annual weeds. This plot is tillage radish interplanted with triticale. Triticale is an overwintering annual grain, cereal grain. It's actually a cross between wheat and rye. And this was planted a little bit later because our triticale came in later, which is why the tillage radish in this plot. Now, one of the reasons we really like cereal rye for a cover crop is it has a very large root system. Wheat does not have as good a root system and doesn't put on as much organic matter. Triticale, being a cross between the two, is kind of midway. There is some issues winter cereal rye possibly having some allelopathic effects against corn planted in the spring. And so we're experimenting here to see if triticale has a little bit less of an allelopathic effect. In this plot we have, again, we're planted with the Kinsey 15-inch row planter. Instead of putting on any tillage radish, we put in Austrian winter pea and a little bit of vetch with the cereal rye. One of the nice things about planting the legume with the rye is that the rye provides insulative cover for the legume throughout the winter, and the legume fixes its own nitrogen, and the cereal rye, as it pulls nitrogen out of the soil, will actually cause the legume to fix more nitrogen than it would if it was planted by itself. This plot is tillage radish planted with winter oats. Previously I showed you planted with spring oats. Now spring oats has better fall growth, but this winter oat also has pretty good fall growth. And although winter oats sometimes don't overwinter too well in Missouri, we're going to give this a try and see how it works. Very little allelopathic effect associated with oats, but again, they don't have the same kind of root growth, and they don't put on the same amount of biomass and organic matter as cereal rye does.